guys, welcome to Chasing Pelagics. My name's Jeff, and this is your SoCal fishing forecast for Thursday, June 22nd. Quick look at our 10-day weather forecast here. We finally got some proper summer temperatures now that it's actually officially summer. And we still have a little bit this morning cloud cover fog, but it looks like it's quickly burning off every day. And as we move into next week, it diminishes into much thinner. So, all good news ahead on that front. However, it looks like we're going to be having a little bit of trouble with the wind. And I'll let this thing play out here, but that Catalina eddy has dissipated, and we are back to the normal northwest trajectory summer winds. And it looks like we're going to have a little constant, steady windstorm here over the next several days. This is going to keep a lot of the private boaters off the water, and probably some sport boats. Won't be the best conditions for fishing, although it will probably be fishable for some boats. So I'll leave it at that. But as you can tell here, basically 15 to 20 knots for the next 5 days or so. So I don't see anything as far as it breaking up to really buck this trend. So I would say let's stick with the current forecast here and say that this is going to be a mess for the next foreseeable week or so. So anything beyond that, I mean, it only looks nastier. So we'll let that play out here, and this becomes unreliable this far out. So, but as you can tell, like what we're showing here, the trend is the same and constant. So until that changes, don't expect anything less. Looking at our current marine forecast, you can say that even inside waters, 3 to 4 feet at 6 seconds, and then we have a southwest long period swell, 1 foot at 16 seconds. Offshore, much of the same. Wind northwest 15 knots, gust to 20, wind waves 4 feet, mixed northwest winds swell 3 to 5 feet, 7 seconds. So it's disgusting for private boat guys, and it's to keep a lot of people out of the water. And if you're seasick or someone that's prone to getting seasick, this week is probably not going to be a good choice for you. And on that note, as I mentioned every week at almost every sign off, I say be safe out there. And there was another incident, unfortunately, this week. I'm not going to talk too much about it because I wasn't on the boat. I don't know anything about it. Only the people that were there do. But there's been a couple things out there that have happened over the last several years. And if you see something, say something, guys. There's a lot of good processes out there that guys can do. And it seems like, the big three is someone falls asleep at the wheel. We got devices to prevent that. We got buzzers that are on timers at the wheel now, where guys can just keep resetting it, make sure that they're awake. And then if they start to nod off, then it buzzes when they don't reset it. That's a good little tool, really simple process. They have like watch devices you could do to prevent that also. We've seen some drug issues, basically because guys are working too many nights and need to stay up. So they're taking uppers. We're not talking about marijuana here. I'm talking about other stuff. And also, obviously, working too many days in a row leads to all these things, being tired or using drugs also. So if you see something, make sure you say something to the captain or anything like that. And make sure you pay attention to those safety talks that are at the beginning of every safety trip. Know where your life vests are. Know where the life rafts are. Know where the E-perb is. If someone's not at the helm, know how to press or get to channel 16. These are all very important things because there'll be a time when maybe you're going to be called to do it, or someone can't get to the wheelhouse or something like that, and you might have to do it. So, but thankfully there were no lives lost, no one was injured. It was a very slow incident, and everyone made it back to shore safely. Fortunately, the guy lost his boat too, so that's his livelihood as well. So keep that in mind. And that's why I always say look at these forecasts, because They do change. This week I was up in Alaska fishing, and the forecast was 10-foot seas and 10 to 15 knot winds, which is very fishable for up there. And we had a pretty good day of fishing. And as the further north that we went to the fishing grounds, the better the conditions got. But when we returned, the swell was up to 15 feet. The wind was about 20 knots, and then combine that with 4 to 5 foot of wind slop, and then we have 20-foot tides up there. And the only way in and out from the fishing grounds to home base is through a lot of passes, and a lot of those are covered with shallow reefs. The pass that we came out of was not passable to go back. It was breaking 15-foot swells all the way across. Completely not doable. The route that we chose was safer. I was definitely on edge, I'll tell you, and I'm not someone that gets nervous on a boat. But when you're going between two reefs with breaking 15-foot swells on both sides, it'll make anyone be a little on edge as well. So, but as long as you know where your safety gear is, you're prepared for what you're doing, you have confidence in navigating your vessel, then you should be in good hands. So we made it back, obviously through a lot safer passage, but knowing your boat, all those things, knowing your crew, knowing your safety gear, all very, very important. And I just want to put that as a reminder every week. It's always good to go fishing, but everyone needs to get home. So let's talk about more fishing. Our water temps really starting to jump up here, as we mentioned. As soon as that sun was going to come out, that we're going to have a pretty good jump on the sea surface temps. And that's what we got here. This is the 3-day chart here. I think it's running a little bit hot. If you look at the 8-day, it's a little bit more dialed back. Sorry, 8-day. A little bit more dialed back. 66, 67, I think that's more of a realistic number. So 3 days showing 68. Not too far off, but we got a good idea of what our pattern looks like here. And then going back to the chloro chart, we've got a really good picture of a lot of blue water, a little bit of green water, and how things are kind of setting up here. And that explains some of the fishing that's going on too. So let's start at the Channel Islands. Man, we've had some really awesome catches. I guess when you have a triple La Nina, you got a good chance at catching a good sea bass. And we had one on rod and reel that was 72 pounds. I think that's 2 pounds short of the state record. Regardless, absolute fish of a lifetime. And then today, unofficially, I believe it was 94 pounds speared, which I believe also breaks the California state record. So 2 record fish caught in the same year. You can start doing the math here. These conditions do help that type of fishery, and it's pretty rad. Although our water temps have been slow down here, I can tell you in Alaska, that water is 47, and I go on the same trip on the same week almost every year. Last year was 52 to 54 degrees, and it was 47 this year. So it's just a sign of the times. Things are a little bit different this year, but again, continue to see the changes coming with El Nino for next year, and we'll see how that plays out. But yeah, we got some good, decent fishing for quality trophies up at the Channel Islands, all coming on squid. There is some yellowtail around too. You got a good chance to catch some yellowtail. Again, this area is going to have some pretty nasty problems with that wind, especially this stretch right here. But once you're inside the island shadow, you should be okay. Maybe some of this between the passes get a little nasty, but I haven't personally fished up here, so I can't tell you how good or how bad those conditions are going to be. But usually it's not very good. So be safe. That's the most important part. Coming down further south, not much talk out at Nick, and no one's really going to be able to venture there. No real signs of gamefish last week. Seems to be pretty much the same old story. Maybe some yellowtail here on the front side, but you never know. Out at Nick, it's Jurassic Park. Lots of green water still, So probably won't see anything come here for maybe a little while. Maybe another month or so once this wind slows down. Santa Barbara Island, I haven't heard anything there as well. It's always boom or bust scenario, but no info as of late. Catalina, there has been some little yellowtail bounce around the island from 10 to 20 pounds. You gotta find them, and then you gotta catch them on light line, 20-pound tests or less, small hooks on sardines. There's still squid around on the backside of the island, and you might be able to find a sea bass in the shallows as well. Just not a whole lot of kelp this year, so I probably have a better chance than the shallows around the island. And this is when you're probably seeing a lot of the bonito start showing up here as well. So if you're looking to avoid those, make sure you're trolling lures that are a macro color. Usually the bonito, leave those alone, and the yellowtail will still gulp them up. So San Clemente Island, man, we've had some good signs of yellows this week. It seems to be a little bit more productive than the last couple of weeks. Still have fish here, Pyramid Cove area, China Point, all that's there, but we're starting to see a little bit more signs along the front side, thankfully. And you got to have the conditions, though. This is the thing about island fishing. And sometimes you got to weigh your options when you're deciding what type of fishing you want to do in your own boat. Islands, you got to have conditions 99% of the time. If you don't have the conditions, the fish aren't going to bite. Offshore, they're on a kelp patty, they could care less. So you got a hot bait, typically they're going to eat it. So why sometimes people opt to fish the islands for really hard conditions, or maybe they're not finding them, versus offshore fishing. Go with what's easier and what applies to you, or unless you're really hell bent on catching something at the island. But you got to weigh those options. So starting to see a little bit of good conditions here at the island for that stuff, and it's starting to pop up a little better. As with Catalina and San Clemente and the Coronados, the sea lines this year have been horrendous. So make sure you got some type of plan, whether it's rake them up quickly or use an alternative method to feed a seal to give yourself a chance. I'll leave it at that, but do it at your own risk. But yeah, seals have been just horrendous. We got to do something about them. Moving down south, Coronados, like I said, there's been a little bit of showing of yellows here, but not that great, and the seals are horrible. So again, go with the easier fishing here. Offshore has been much more productive than inland fishing. Bluefin fishing, man, we've seen these things all the way up here at the Channel Islands this week. Little onesie twosie, and you see we got like a wall of green water here, and we're gonna have a big blow. So this stuff is gonna come this way. It's probably gonna green up some of this water, and you're gonna see those fish probably retreat back down here, and leave the Channel Islands, at least for a little while. Typically, that's what happens. They kind of poke their head out to a new area, see what it looks like, and then retreat. And especially when you got a big blow coming. So we'll see what that looks like next week. That being said, let me switch to bottom detail here. We still have fish on both sides of this ridge here, from the north end of the island to the 499 and to the 711. It seems to be the most productive spot. Bites are mainly coming at night. They seem like they have a little bit of lockjaw lately, the last couple of days. Again, use the technique that works for you. If they're not biting fly line baits, you can't get close to them. Then switch to a kite, switch to Mad Max, things like that. Further around the island, we've been seeing a little bit of the smaller puddly stuff. The smaller gray fish up to like 80 pounds, and when they're actually foaming, so they're eating the bait around the island. So this is when you need to bust out those clear poppers. We still have a couple different assortments of them, but we have the heavy duty ones that are a little bit heavier that go further. We got the feed poppers. We introduced this year the jerk lure. It's a clear jerking lure. It's slow sinking. It's almost floating, so it's like just below subsurface. Got a pretty good rhythm to it. I like it, and you can probably catch some yellowtail on it too. But yeah, those are all good options for that type of fishing or that style of fishing. So if you're headed over here and you give up on the yellowtail early, look for those bluefin here on the slack tide around the island, and you'll have a good chance. Tanner and Cortez, still a couple of those yellows, local home guards hanging out. I don't see a reason to come here. It's too far. The wind is awful. Let's come out here next month, maybe when the water's warmer and you start seeing some bluefin show up here. But for the time being, I would just leave this stuff alone. It's not worth messing with, especially with this blow coming. Moving further south, there has been a little spot of a squid bed off La Jolla. I don't know how good it is, but I heard about it. So you might find some yellows on it, and you might need some conditions for it too. So just be aware of that if you want to stay close or poke your head out the bay for the day before the wind comes up or whatnot. That might be an option for you as well without having to go too far. Play it on the safe side. The old triangle. Guys been out here fishing this stuff on that 3/4 day boats the last couple of days. They've still seen some signs of some smaller bluefin puddling up into little foamers, but they're a little bit shy and they haven't been able to get a bite from them the last couple of days. But when they do bite during the daytime, again, like those little poppers that we're talking about, that's the stuff that's going to get working first, or a really long casting jig. I really like those, like Zakana 130 grams, or the Colt Snipers, or current Snipers, what do you want to call them now. That 100 to 130 gram size, I think, is prime time for casting at that stuff. If they're really small fish, like the little 15, 20 pounders, then slide down to an 80 gram. But typically, I get it down with that 100 to 130 gram. Just whatever I grab first is usually the one I'm chucking. We had the Battle of the Pongas over the weekend. The guys got some good fish, and they scored up from the lower finger all the way up to the upper finger, all along here. These guys at Ensenada have fished up on a bank, and all in Pongas. They had some pretty good fishing. They got some bluefin. Weren't the biggest ones over the weekend, but you know, it's a tournament, man. Lots of boat traffic, and today I think the guys at Mora's got some better grade ones that were closer to 100 pounds. So they're still trolling Mad Max, doing that type of thing, and it's working for them. So stick with what's working. I do believe the Yellowtail Shootout is scheduled for this weekend. Some nasty weather, so I wish those guys luck. Hopefully no one's making this run to Tanner or Cortez for one of those things. I do not encourage that whatsoever. So please, if you're fishing the tournament, make good decisions here and watch that weather forecast. So that's it for this week, guys. Be safe out there on the water, like I say every week, and cheers. Hey, thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and check out our website and online store at chasingpelagics.com. And make sure you share the stoke.